Culture is an ornament in prosperity and refuge in adversity. Welcome to one more episode of this Good Culture podcast. In advance, we want to thank you for coding to listen to use this podcast series. Today we will talk about the cultural awareness that can be implemented in reaction of immigration to the United States.
First of all, a brief explanation about cultural awareness is the ability to pay attention to the signals of a certain intercultural situation, reflective and creatively, finding the appropriate strategy to be used at the moment. The cultural awareness includes several intelligence, but the most common are cognitive cultural intelligence, which is the one that corresponds to the ability to naturally learn to rules, customs, beliefs, and taboos of other cultures, in this case of Latinos. Emotional cultural intelligence is other. This is the sum of the will and motivation that leads to the adaptation of a person within a new cultural environment. And the last one is the physical cultural intelligence that is characterized by the rapid assimilation of elements associated with not strictly verbal communication, such as body language, changing the tone of the voice, or the concentration of certain words during the speech. Now that we understand and explain the operation of the definition of general consciousness, we are going to talk about the topic that we present in a very objective way.
It is not a secret that most people in Latin America want to travel to the United States to have better opportunities, have a decent job, or security for their families. And a great economic and mental effort is made to be able to leave their places of origin to go a totally different culture that people are willing to respect and share. But it is hampered by not only society of the United States, which by the way a lot of Latin Americans, but also by the government. And year after year we have seen the label how they have despised people only because of the lack of the culture and empathy that they may have been in charge of only regarding people policy, and they have also been in charge of doing everything possible the reject of the population and make them move anyway with wars, liars, or violence. And they are usually treated as a criminal and they should be charged.
Adding to one you mentioned, Alexi, this is not an accusation or an issue without arguments. As we all know, it has not been only certain isolated people who seek to make us feel as Latinas as if we were less. There are news and statistics that show what we are talking according to the IF agency, which is a digital newspaper that shows different news on any topic of relevance to a country. It has shown that there are more than 60 million applicants rejected in just 2021, and that taking into account that the bridges have just reopened, and according to statistics the producers to have a visa or passport have been greater in the months of August and October, so that for begin able to cross the border again there are already quit and feel rejected. Do not you think that they are being rejected to great extent?
Okay, now that we leave you a question and we hope we have a recite a question about whether have you have a social conscience that we would like you to tell you in the future how you have felt after hearing this.
Now we want to invite you to develop your cultural awareness, taking into account our them with 5 ideas. Mm, The first is be curious to know, to understand how migrants are. You have to get to know the people and not get carried away by the first impression you have by third parties. The second one is become aware, that reflect on how you relate to these people and see if you are being the same or are different, taking into account their cultures and traditions. This is fundamental step to remove barriers.
So now that we have some value, we tend to show preference for the one type of the people of others, whether based on their physical appearance, skin tone, sexual orientation, age, or gender. In the case of especially less in the tone of their culture of preference for the skin tone, detecting of prejudice, we will easy management to the not to fail into them. And the fourth is think differently. So when we interact with people from Latin America, we should not expect that we are the same values and mentally, because that is only thing that make us different, that each culture and each person are different from the others. And the five is leaving the comfort zone. We have to face as unknown situation or context in which we are not entirely conformed to meeting people or seeing what they can do, and what we like to do make us feeling confident without.
We must take into account the way we respect and know other cultures and learn to have a judgment for ourselves, not for others. Let us be aware that we are all the same, regardless of culture. Respect must always be the same. Thank you very much for listening to Use One More Day. See you in the next chapter.